I got a chat. What's in the chat window? Oh, okay. John will not be joining tonight. Okay. All right. So it's 6 o'clock. Everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Are we live?
Okay, I got us on YouTube. Now I gotta get us on Facebook. Hold on.
Okay. Just waiting on confirmation that we're live on Facebook. And on the town website.
All right, sorry about that. We should be good to go now.
Okay, should be good to go. Okay. All right. Well, since John's not here, I'm co-chair. I'm chair today, Don Kline. Call this meeting to order at 6:04 p.m., March 17, 2001, the March meeting of Planning and Zoning. We have, I don't know, call roll Ted Mays, Roy Childers, King Moss, James Golder, Carly Hagan, and myself present on the commission, and town representatives Lyle Jenkins, Charles Goff, and Brenda McDonald. Start with the consent agenda items. Number one on the list is to consider and act upon approval of the minutes of the January 2020 meeting. Since February meeting did not occur, canceled due to weather. So everybody had a chance to take a look at those. Take a look at those minutes. See if there are any questions, concerns, or changes, and if not,
I make a motion that the minutes of the January 2020.
So,
meeting be
Mr.
approved.
Chairman,
yes.
this is the consent agenda. So you can vote on items 1 through 5 in one motion.
Oh, in one motion. Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, since they're just basically parliamentary procedure. Okay, we can do that. Agenda item number 2 is consider and act upon a request to approve a minor plat of 1.798 acres for 520 East Fork Road. I think Charles was sharing a screen, but if you have your copy, take a look at that. If we want to still just kind of review them quickly.
So
280 East Tripp. Yes.
for items that are on the consent agenda, we don't really discuss them individually. We just take a motion to consider them all
Okay.
unless somebody wants to pull one of the items for additional discussion.
And you
Okay, I
remember-
see. That makes sense.
This was the conversation that we had about sort of streamlining the meeting and making it go more smoothly. And so
Sure.
these are all sort of non-discretionary items.
Okay,
So what would be in order is a motion to approve the consent agenda items C1 through 5.
okay. And there's no need to review or discuss them. Everybody has seen the consent agenda items.
That's correct.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda items C1 through 5 as written.
Second the motion.
James made the motion and King seconded the motion.
Correct.
All in favor,
Aye.
raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
I see, okay.
Aye.
Sorry, I didn't have Carly on there. Carly, there's, and, okay. And Lisa Burton has just joined us
Aye.
and she says aye. So that's seven ayes. Any against or any nays? None. Okay. So the consent agenda items passed approved 7-0. So now we move on to the public hearing items. The first one is, okay, discuss and recommendation regarding ordinance granting alcohol beverage sales at La Tacos Carretera, 3630 Beltline Road.
Yes, sir. So the staff report for this item, this is a request for a property located at 3630 Beltline Road, just to the north of the intersection of Beltline and Town East. The property is zoned local retail, and Tacos Carretera opened in Suite 200 a couple months ago in what used to be the GFC Chicken restaurant location. They're requesting a special use designation to allow them to sell alcoholic beverages for on-premises consumption. And the applicant has provided a site plan and a floor plan that shows this to be a restaurant that complies with all requirements necessary to qualify for this SUD. And so we have 2 letters from property owners that were received from the mailouts that we did for all property owners within 200 feet, and both were in support. So staff recommends approval subject to no conditions.
Okay. Yeah, and again, this is going in where the GFC Good Fast Chicken restaurant was. So it's one restaurant replacing another. So the only request here is for a permit to SUD to sell alcohol. All right. Any discussion on the committee before we open this up to a public hearing? None? Okay. So we'll open this up to the public for comments, concerns, questions. If there is someone there that wishes to speak, please let Charles know. Raise your hand or indicate that you want to discuss the topic.
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay. All right. So no hands raised. So we'll close the public discussion and consider the motion. Discussion or questions or motions for this on the committee.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the sale of alcoholic beverages for agenda item AIR-21-043.
Okay, Ted made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And that was
Troy.
Troy. I'm sorry, I don't see on my screen there. Okay. We had a motion, we had a second. All those in favor, raise your hand of the motion for approval.
Aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Any noes? Anyone opposed? There are none. Item passes 7-0 unanimously. All right. The next item. Regards special use designation for an accessory dwelling at 280 East Tripp Road, accessory dwelling unit, an SUD. Charles.
Yes, sir. This is the property located at 280 East Tripp Road and is a vacant lot of approximately 3.085 acres in size. It's zoned single family 2. On the consent agenda tonight, there was a minor plat for the property to plat. It's currently unplatted. The owner intends to construct their primary residence on the property. At the same time, they want to construct an accessory dwelling unit behind the main residence that would be a home for another family member. The UDO requires a special use designation whenever a accessory dwelling unit is requested. This unit would be a single-story building of approximately 3,060 square feet in size and similar in appearance to the primary residence. The building meets all of the requirements listed in the UDO for accessory dwellings. Again, we mailed letters out to all of the property owners within 200 feet, and we received one letter back, and it was in support of the request. And so staff recommends approval subject to no conditions.
Okay. One letter of approval. Okay. All right. You said the minor plat was approved just previously, and this is for the special use permit for the auxiliary building.
Right.
Okay. Any discussion before we open it to the public? All right. Now we'll open this agenda item up to the public for public discussion. Anyone wishing to be heard, please come forward, raise your hand, or let us know, please.
I see no hands raised.
Okay, Charles, no hands raised. Okay, so no one wishes to speak or be heard. So we'll close the public portion of this this hearing. Yeah, it's a pretty good sized lot. It's over 3 acres, right? And
Yes.
accessory dwelling. Yeah, looks really, really nice. Conforms with primary residence. So any discussion or questions or comments or motions? Again, you said there was no one in the area has indicated that they are against it, only 1 for. So the neighbors.
Yep.
The neighbors have been notified and are pleased or acceptable. So,
Mr. Chairman,
entertain a motion.
I make a motion of approval for the accessory dwelling at 280 East Tripp Road.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Okay. All right. We had a motion to approve and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Aye.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Who made the second?
Lisa.
Lisa. Burton.
Lisa Burton.
Okay,
Lisa.
thank you.
Okay. All right.
So if you would, if you could say your names, because I can't see you all on the screen at one time, that would be super helpful. So I have a motion by Commissioner Moss and a second by Commissioner Burton.
That is correct.
Great.
And all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, none opposed, so
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question real quick of Charles? Charles, are you sharing the agenda on the screen with us?
Yeah, I don't see anything on the screen.
Yeah, I
Does
don't
anybody
either.
else?
No, I don't see anything either.
I know in the past it had been shared on the screen.
shows
No.
started.
Yeah,
It
Okay,
showed,
good.
it showed, said he's sharing, but it was just black screen.
Yeah.
correct.
Has it been black this whole time?
It
Yes.
is.
Yeah,
And I didn't make copies, so, but
I was attempting to share a PowerPoint. I apologize for that. Let me try it again.
That's a case of the emperor has no clothes because nobody would say anything.
yeah, that's right.
I
I did
texted
everything I
Charles.
could. I clicked everything I could, and I still got nothing.
Hey,
Yeah, I texted him and said, am I the only one who can't see anything?
Charles, there's something about PowerPoint. It either needs to be in presentation mode or not, like one or the other, and it will not work if it's
Let
in
me
one
do
or the other.
There it
There
is.
it goes.
There we go. Yay.
Okay. Well, the slides you missed were very beautiful, I promise.
Yeah.
We're at number 31.
Okay.
All right, so the previous, the accessory dwelling passed 7-0, 7-4-0 against. So the next agenda item is the replat of 5 residential lots at the corner of Collins and Town East Boulevard, showing on the screen.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I'm having some other issues with my screen now. PowerPoint doesn't like me today. Okay, so I apologize for that. The commission may recall that the town approved a final plat of the McGee Trace Edition back in November of 2020. But as a reminder, this covered 5 lots totaling 17.4 acres at the southwest corner of Collins Road and Town East Boulevard. The owners are back now requesting to adjust the property lines interior to the site between 2 lots. Specifically, it's the rear lot line of lot 1 and the side property line of lot 4. The change is strictly at their request and does not impact any town requirements. And so staff recommends approval. I wanted to take a second and just say this plat is a little bit different. We had talked about putting plats on the consent agenda because plats are ministerial. This is still a ministerial function of the town, but state law, and then our UDO mirrors state law, requires that whenever there is a replat of a property that is zoned or used for a residential use, you have to notice it effectively as if it were a zoning case. So notice to property owners within 200 feet and then hold a public hearing. And so that's why it's on the agenda listed as it is, not on consent, but as a public hearing item, because you do have to hold the public hearing. But again, it's still ministerial. If it complies with all the requirements, which this does, then ultimately it does need to be approved. We did send out letters to all the property owners within 200 feet, and we did not get any responses back.
Okay. All right. So let's open this up to public hearing. Anyone wishing to be heard or speak, please raise your hand or notify Charles.
We do have Randy Harden who would like to speak, and I've promoted him, so he should be able to speak now.
Randy Harden.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Charles. I think most of my family's on. My wife, Cindy, I don't know if her older brother, Mike, who was the fire chief, used to be. He's probably not on. But anyway, Patty Wallace, who's hoping to build a home in between me, her sister, and her brother. That's coming. And then it's her parents' home over in the back that we just want to remodel. One of my other daughters wants to move in there. And then on the other corner, my other daughter's building a house. So however we need to go through the process, if we need to do another hearing and plat 30 days from now to do some of these other things. Actually, it just occurred to me, one of my father-in-law's dreams was to call that driveway, or maybe it's my wife, I don't know, I'm old, McGee Lane or something. So I don't know if that's something y'all can do a hearing on later, but that'd be kind of cool. I know one of the things that's brought up was, well, we need to be able to get fire trucks, police cars, ambulances back to the back house. Unfortunately, they've had to do that about 20 times in the past 20 years. So they got plenty of room to get back there. So anyway, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys, and appreciate it if y'all can approve this.
Okay, Randy, can you, well, obviously you stated your name. State your name again and your address for the record, please.
It's Randy Harden. I'm just a squatter on their land. It's Randy Harden, and it's 370 Town East Boulevard.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Randy. Thank you very much. All right. Any, I believe you were the only one wishing to speak, but in case there are others that have notified Charles since you started speaking there, Randy, Charles, let me know.
I do not see any other hands raised.
Okay. No others wishing to speak. So we'll close the public portion of this agenda item and open it up for discussion on the board. All these lots conform, right? We're just actually, it's just basically ministerial. They were not subdivided. Obviously, the McGee family owns the property, and now they're wishing to, I guess, make it legal and subdivide since they're looking at building. So it's basically all conforms, and it's just ministerial, correct?
Right. That was the original plat that platted these properties for the first time was what was approved last fall. This is just to adjust, and I'm sorry, I meant to advance the slide here. So they're adjusting, if you see my cursor here, they're adjusting the property line. Basically right here is where it exists today, and they want to move it down to this kind of zigzag line right here. But that doesn't affect any town regulation.
Okay. Yeah, we're not creating a flag lot or anything like that, but
Correct.
just adjusting. Okay. All right. All right. Any other questions, comments, or recommendations?
Ted Mays, I would like to make a motion to approve the replat of the Maggie Trace
Ted?
agenda item.
Yeah, okay. So that was Ted, right? You made the motion?
Yes, sir.
James Golder, I'll second that.
James Golder, second. Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? And I hear none. So pass 7-0. All right. Now the last item, well, the next item, I guess, is that trying to follow along here on the, oh, okay. 533 Larkin Road. Request a subdivision waiver. Connect to public sanitary sewer line and install a private septic tank. Now this was, did I see that this was not actually in that same group, but this was I'm lost here in my.
It's just a discussion item. So let me
Okay.
take a step back before I get into the details of the case and just kind of explain what a subdivision waiver is, because as best I can tell, the town has never considered a subdivision waiver before, but it is a provision that is included in the UDO to, it's as basically a mechanism that allows the town to grant relief from any requirement pertaining to platting, or civil construction plans for utilities. That's your water, your wastewater, your drainage, things like that. Whenever there is a situation that if there is, strict enforcement of kind of the letter of the UDO, it would create an undue hardship from someone's ability to enjoy the use of their property. So it's almost like a variance if for those of you that have experience with the Board of Adjustment, but it's called a waiver, and it's for any sort of subdivision or civil plan requirement. So I have the authority to grant minor waivers on certain things, but all other requests have to go to the Planning and Zoning Commission for review, and then ultimately to council for council's final approval. Unlike a zoning recommendation that you make, the request advances to council regardless of what the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation is. And even if you were to recommend denial for some reason, that does not trigger a supermajority requirement at council. So you just provide your input, it goes to council either way, and then they vote it on a simple majority basis as to whether or not it gets approved. So with that overview, the background of this case is that the subject lot for this case is located at 533 Larkin Road, Lot 1, which is zoned for single family development. They are requesting a subdivision waiver from the requirement to connect to the public sanitary sewer line and instead install a private septic system. The UDO requires that any property that's within 300 feet of a sewer line connect to that line as they develop. And staff believes that this requirement applies even though the property is 388 feet, not 300 feet, from the line, and that requires some background explanation. So in May of 2020, last year, the town approved a minor plat for a 15.7 acre tract that took the larger tract and divided into the 3 lots that you can see on the screen. So lot 1, lot 2, and lot 3. Prior to that platting, the larger lot included access to a sanitary sewer line that extended across a portion of the property. And I've highlighted that here in that red area. That's the easement where that existing sanitary sewer line is. And so since that larger property had a sanitary sewer line running across it, any development on that track would have been required to tie into that line. When the property was being platted and divided into these 3 lots, staff had conversations with the owner that because the larger lot had access to the sewer line and would have been subject to this requirement, that as they were subdividing and making these 3 lots, that sanitary sewer service would have had to be extended to each of the 3 lots. And so that each of them could be connected to that sewer line. That was agreed to by the owner, and that's reflected on the plat because they added a 15-foot wide sanitary sewer easement across all 3 lots. And I've highlighted that here in yellow at the top of the properties, which is actually to the rear of the properties away from Larkin Road. And you can see that it extends across all 3 of the lots to account for that future extension. What should have occurred next after the plat was approved is that the owner of the land at that time, or the developer, should have constructed all required utilities prior to selling the lot. So the sewer line should have been extended. But that didn't happen in this case. The owner sold off the lots, and the current owner of lot 1, which is the lot subject to the request tonight, purchased the property as is. The owner of lot 1 is now ready to begin construction, and they're now faced with having to construct that entire extension, and they've received a quote for that of about $84,000. And so the applicant is requesting to be allowed to install a private septic system instead of connecting to the public sewer line as would typically be required. The UDO lists what factors and findings must be present in order to make a determination that an undue hardship exists. And I provided those to you in the memo for this item, so I won't go through those verbatim, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
So
Charles, I have a question. Should the owner, before he sold the lots, was it says it that he was required to construct all of the utilities. Is there any way that you can go back and have him do that? Your previous owner?
I don't think there is a way for us to go back in and require him to do so. He's kind of not in the picture anymore. And so it really is upon the current owners now to address that issue.
Does the original owner still own lots 2 and 3?
No,
So all 3 lots are no longer owned by the original owner.
that's my understanding.
Okay, all right. And I just questioning if obviously lot 3 has the connection there, so they'll be able to connect to town water services, correct? Lot 2 is a little closer, so their connection would be a little shorter. I don't know if you can half that 84K to get it to there, but yeah, I just thinking.
But the real question is they're asking for an undue hardship.
Right.
And if
Yeah.
there was a hardship, wouldn't the original developer have made that request at that time? If he didn't make the request that it was an undue hardship and he agreed to it, then you kind of lost any kind of grandfather clause that you could say from the original property before it was replatted by the previous. Obviously, council had to approve it and planning and zoning had to approve it. That to me seems to be the real question. Now, is it a financial hardship? Absolutely. But in the criteria that town provided to us to evaluate says financial hardship can't be the only determining factor into saying this should be approved.
From what I understand in reviewing some of the correspondence of the current owner is that he and the prior owner got together, and the prior owner, more or less, these are my words, said that the septic tanks or septic systems would be much less expensive than running the sewer lines. And then the current owner, I don't recall exactly, but he went out and got this estimate that from a private engineer on the cost of $83,000. So he had, I guess what I'm trying to say is that I guess before he bought the lot, he had to have some idea that sewer other than a septic may be required, and why that wasn't explored, I don't know, or what the previous owner told him, what. Anyway, it appears to me that somebody wasn't reading the exact ordinances, the UDO and everything is at that time.
The owner of Lot 1 is on the call and has raised their hand to speak and is available to answer any questions y'all might have if y'all want to do so at this time.
Okay, and I just one thing to add to King's topic of discussion there. I don't know what's involved in a title search when you buy a house. I know you pay a title, you pay a lot of fees when you're financing, and a lot of that is a title search to see if it's a clean title, that there are no restrictions or no problems. Is this the kind of thing that would have been caught in a title search ordinarily? And I may be asking that no one really knows.
So the answer is yes. The plat would have been provided. The easement may have been noted, but the plat would show up in the title commitment when the house was purchased. Now, if the house was purchased with cash and there was no lender, some people may not get title insurance. The only other thing that I wanted to add about this is that it's possible that there could be a pro rata agreement that when the middle lot ties into the sewer line, they could reimburse for the portion of the cost that would have been attributable to their line.
Okay. And it's a lot of what ifs. I would assume, well, the line is on lot 3, so lot 3 really would not need any changes to connect up. But I would assume if you were developing this, you would spread the cost out over all 3 lots.
You would have, but that wasn't done in this case.
Yeah. And lot 3 wouldn't need wouldn't need any changes because the line is there. So it basically now it looks like it's between lot 1 and lot 2 that would share in the cost of that line if they chose to connect that up.
No, they would be required. See, that's the issue. Those 2 houses would be required. So granting an undue hardship for this sets a precedent for the other 2 properties that they could come back and say, well, we're not paying the cost to install that. We want an undue hardship requirement as well. It really comes down to what Brenda told us before. It's the use, the use, not the user. And what would be the difference between this situation arising with an actual developer versus an owner? We all want to be sympathetic to our neighbors and our people of our town, but if you remember the use, not the user, a developer making this same request saying, oh, it's an undue hardship for me to spend, $100,000 I want to build all these houses with septic tanks. Then someone else comes down the road, wants to buy that house, and where does it end?
Yeah, and the fact that it was platted that way, it was platted for the right of way. It's not like it was missed when they were subdividing. The owner that's subdividing it had that in the platting and knew about it. So go ahead.
No, and I don't like that the owner can just ignore the agreement they made when creating the subdivision plat and just do away with it and then just tell the people they can go get septic tank when the town apparently is moving away from septic systems. As I think is something I read as a general thing. We're trying to move away from that. And it just seems to me that, it's sort of like asking forgiveness later. And it's like, I wouldn't want to see other developers or others making agreements and say, oh, they'll just deal with it on the back end. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay. Any other comments or questions before we, I believe, Charles, you said the owner is wishing to speak or is available to speak?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Is this an open agenda item for the public or just, we just want to hear from the owner?
It is not a public hearing.
Okay.
But like I said, the owner, the applicant is here to speak, so it would be appropriate to hear from them and ask them questions you might have. I promoted them, so they should be able to speak.
Okay, please state your name and your address for the record, please.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, my name is Tony Thomas. I live in Rowlett, 2306 Sundown Parkway, Rowlett, Texas. And we bought the land in Larkin Road about 6 to 8 months ago. And we bought that land to raise our kids in Sunnyvale. We have 4 kids, and we are about to sell our house in Rowlett and about to start building a house there. And we found a builder, and when he approached the city, that's when we found out that there's a big requirement to connect the sewer line to the main sewer line on the Lot 3. And we were okay with it. So we went to get an estimate on it, and it was about $83,000 plus another $10,000 from connecting from my house to all the way down there. It's about 1,000 feet down. And, we are on a budget, and it's a lot of money. So we contacted the owner for the lot number 2. And so he's not planning to build a house anytime soon. He is not even like in the next 5 years, he's not building. So he's not interested in sharing the money part. So all that is on me now. And I contacted the previous owner, Mr. Whitehurst. So he told me that he didn't tell me about this before I bought the land. I was, since it's on the Zoom meeting, I'm a young guy. It's my first experience buying land. So the only search I did was like I called the city at that time. I talked to somebody named Rashid Jackson. I asked him about, is there any restrictions or requirements on this lot? And he said, there's no major issues on this lot. So he kind of approved for me to buy it. So that's how I ended up buying it. And I have emails from Rashid Jackson saying that go ahead and get a builder and send the plans and all that to the city. So I ended up buying it, and now it's a big delay. My house is on a contract now to sell in Rowlett. I had to finish building the house in within a year because I have lease for a year here. That's all. It's the budget with the coronavirus going on. The budget of building a house went up too. So with another $90,000, we can't build a house anytime soon. Only thing we can do is like just to sell it and go on a lease or something. I'm in a big trouble now, and I contacted many people in the city, but I know there's rules and regulations and all that. So, that's why I end up coming to PNC. And I wasn't aware of this, all this. I thought all my neighbors are on septic, all 9 houses on Larkin Road, they're on septic. I'm the 10th one. I have a house next to me and he's on septic. And, it will affect on my appraisal too. I'm spending another almost $94,000 extra on my house. And it won't show up on the appraisal because all the rest of the houses on that Larkin Road is on a septic system. So I have 388 feet to cover to connect it to the main sewer line, and that's a lot of land to cover. So yeah, so that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Charles, were these emails presented to you to where you have documentation where Rashad gave the recommendation or
I asked Rashad if is there any restrictions. I didn't know about all this requirements, so I asked him in a general term, is there any requirements or restrictions on this land? So he told me there is no major restrictions, just follow just the requirements on the plat. That's all you should follow. And he didn't explain anything. So, and I have those emails with me. I have those emails, and he told me to find a builder and submit the plan for the house. So I stopped right there because I wasn't ready to build a house at that time. That was like 8 months ago. So that was just for my peace of mind. I stopped right there. Then after 8 months, I just started finding a builder and sending all this now. And now I found out all this.
Mr. Thomas, can I ask you a question? Did Mr. Whitehurst, did he tell you that you would either need to connect to the sewer line or have a septic system?
No, he didn't tell me. I didn't sign any disclosures during the closing time. I closed the house before. That's all the experience I have. So usually we sign any disclosures, or I didn't get any disclosures, and I thought it's just a plain land. So I was, no, I didn't ask for anything. And Mr. Whitehurst didn't tell me anything, or or my realtor. She didn't tell me anything either. And since all the rest of them are on septic, so I thought, I could just get a septic system. And after I found out about all this, I called Mr. Whitehurst. I have his number. I called Mr. Whitehurst. He told me that he had a meeting with the city and the city told him that it will be cheaper to build it's cheaper to build connect the sewer than the septic system. So this is like when I found out about this septic, it's another sewer. It's like almost 9 times more than building a septic. So, Mr. Whitehurst just, I called him 2 days ago too. He told me that the city told him, I don't know, is he telling me the truth or he's just getting away from me, because he sold the land, so it's all on me now.
So I feel compelled. I appreciate what the applicant has said. I do need to make clear that city employees are not responsible for, fully educating someone. If someone called the planning department and said, I want to build a house on this lot, are there any problems? The answer would be no. And as the applicant indicated, Rashad said, no, you have to, look at the plat and do what the plat says. Well, there's clearly a utility easement on the plat. So for the owner who sold this gentleman the property to say that the staff didn't tell him is disingenuous, because as Charles pointed out in the presentation, not only did they have those conversations, the owner agreed and put in the utility easement across all 3 lots. So I do need to say that Rashad would have assumed that whoever was calling would do the due diligence necessary to see what it was going to take to construct a home.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm a normal 30-year-old guy. I didn't have any previous experience on all this, so it happened. I'm in a lot of trouble now, because Mr. Whitehurst he's gone to somewhere else, and it's all on me now. So I had to, I have 4 small kids. They're below 3, and only thing we are moving from Rowlett is we want the Sunnyvale ISD for the kids, and I like to do a little farming and all that. We even moved our livestock and stocked the pond and everything. We were so excited to do everything there, and this is all, me and my wife, we are in big, we are just sad for all this happened. I know I should have done better. I trusted Mr. Whitehurst, and I trusted my realtor. I trusted Rashid, but I know I should have done better.
I would just like to talk a little bit about Rashid and even Mr. Jenkins, who's on this call. Having dealt with both Rashad and Mr. Jenkins when I was going through the building of my house and coming upon issues that I had to deal with, it came up in the middle of my build process that, it's going to cost me about $30,000 to fix my property. And they were nothing but, like Brenda said, I had to do my due diligence, as Mr. Jenkins can well attest. And if Rashad was here, he'd know too, that it wasn't on the town to do that for me. I had to do that to come to the determination, did I walk away from the property when the developer gave me the opportunity, or did I go in full steam knowing what I was getting into? I agree with Brenda. Rashad was never, I dealt with him for 2 years and was always upfront and always did his job to the best of his ability when my dealings with him, as well as Mr. Jenkins, who's on this call.
Yeah, I agree to you. Mr. Rashad, he gave me a lot of advice and everything. I'm not blaming him. He just did his job. So, I'm not blaming him. He's the one, I just I emailed him and everything. So I'm not blaming him for anything. It just, I bought the land anyway. So
Mr. Thomas, what's the approximate cost of a septic tank, of the septic system
for
your size house?
Solar said a septic will be $8,000. The aerobic,
8,000?
the eco-friendly one, 8 to 10. That's what he told me.
Huh.
Yeah.
That seems pretty cheap for
Yeah.
smaller one, dealing with one recently on a smaller property, but okay. All right.
And the sewer is 84,000 to run the main line and 10,000 to connect it from my house to the bottom of my property. It's a deep property, so it's about 950 feet to go down.
Yeah.
And Charles,
Okay.
like you said,
All right.
in this, at the beginning of this is going to go straight to town council right after this anyways, because this is almost, because of the way the request was made.
Correct. So this has to go through you all to get your recommendation, but regardless of whether it's a recommendation to approve or deny, it goes to council either way, and they ultimately have the final say.
Okay.
And it doesn't require, if we object or we vote against, it still does not require supermajority from the council.
Correct. It would still be a simple
Correct.
majority at council to approve.
So regardless of what we decide, he still has to get majority from the council to approve. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. I see.
Can I tell
Okay.
you? Hello?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So one more thing, Mr. Whitehurst wasn't, we all three lots were equaled the same pricing. I paid $351,000 for my lot, and he sold all three with the same. He wasn't trying to lower the price for my lot or anything. So I don't think he was aware of doing this too. So we all paid the same amount of money. If I knew this before, I would have only get the third lot because the sewer is right there. And I paid the same amount of money that lot 3 paid. Or lot 2. The lot 2 was available for a long time. So we weren't aware of all this.
And what was the price that was paid? I didn't hear that.
Oh, the price, we all paid the same price. I paid $351,000 for
okay.
my lot, and lot 3 was sold for the same amount of price, the same amount. So I knew I was been watching this property for before the lot 3 was sold. So I would have only get the lot 3 if I knew all this before. Or Mr. Whitehurst, if Mr. Whitehurst knew this before, he might lower the price for me, but we didn't. I don't think he wasn't aware of this 83,000 either. So so I wasn't aware of anything. Otherwise, I would have get only that lot 3 because the sewer is already there.
You say you paid
Oh, yeah,
$350, Mr. Thomas?
Yeah.
$350? Oh, okay.
Yeah, $350. I have a mortgage on it. I paid. I put a down payment, then I have a lender give me the loan for the rest of the money.
Well, yeah, obviously there's no way to really determine or really verify anything, but either he would have eaten the cost of adding this line in, or he would have paid for it ahead of time and then either added that to the price, divided it by 3 and added it to the price of each lot. So the lot would have been another $25,000, $30,000 more if he made the buyer pay that price, but that's irrelevant because we can't,
And I have to
guess on what someone would do.
Sorry. Yeah, I had to move. I'm in a hurry. I sold my property in in Rowlett, and I am leasing for it for a year. So I had to finish my building within a year or so. I wasn't expecting all this. So that's why I did this. I had to sell my land. I had to sell my house here. Otherwise, I can build. That's why and when I did it already.
Mr. Thomas, have you considered getting some more estimates for the extension of that sewer line?
My builder went to two different people, and this is the cheapest he got.
Okay.
If you were,
And,
Mr. Thomas, if you were misled, how come you haven't pursued legal ramifications with the person you bought the land from?
What's that? I didn't understand. Sorry.
The person you bought the land from, you made a comment that he didn't know, but he did know because he had the lots platted. He was explicitly told by the town at the time he replatted your property.
Yeah, he didn't. He told the only time he told me that he knew he had a meeting with a city was last week. When I found out about all this, I called him, and then he said he had a meeting with the city during the time of platting, and somebody told him that putting the septic is much cheaper than putting the sewer is much cheaper than the septic, which is not true. So that's the only time he told me about this. All the other time, I was getting a idea that sewer or septic is fine with that piece of property because all my neighbors are on septic. So
Yeah.
All right, Charles, since this isn't a public hearing, how do we close this to move to a vote?
Once you all are done discussing, then someone would make a motion either to recommend approval or recommend denial. And then if there's a second, then you would take a vote on that motion.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Thomas, for your input. So at this point, we'll conclude the discussion and go to discussion and or recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission. But again, I want to reiterate that regardless of how we vote, Mr. Thomas, you're going to have to get a majority of the town council's approval at the next scheduled meeting when this item is on their agenda. So just again, it still will be up to them by a majority, no matter which way we vote. So with that said, I want to ask if there's any more discussion. Anything we want to discuss? Would someone want to make a motion to approve or a motion to deny?
This is Troy Childers. I have a lot of sympathy for Mr. Thomas, but I'm making a motion to deny the recommendation regarding the subdivision waiver allowing installation of a private septic system at 533 Larkin Road.
Okay, so I have a motion by Troy Childers to deny.
This is James Golder. I'll second.
Okay. I'm sorry, who?
James Golder, second.
Oh, James Golder. Okay, sorry. James Golder. A second. Okay. All those in favor of denial, we got that straight, in favor of denying this motion, please raise your hand. Okay. All those against, raise your hand and say aye. Or nay, I'm sorry, nay. Okay, I have no nays. Vote is 7-0 to deny.
Commissioner Burton, can I ask what your vote was?
I'm sorry, I was trying to get off mute. Sorry. Hold on, I'm having issues. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Yes, to deny.
Okay. Yeah, and again, I said 7-0. I have a limited number of windows opened up here. I didn't hear any motion to deny, so I assume 7-0. So that is confirmed, 7-0 to deny. And this will move on to town council, who will make the final decision. Okay. If we've covered all the items on the agenda tonight, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, this is King Moss, and I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
Mr. Moss made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Ted Mays, I second that motion.
Ted Mays seconds the motion. Motion to adjourn the meeting. This is 7 p.m. All those in favor, say aye. Raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. All those against, please say nay. All right. No, all the ayes, no nays. We have 7-0 vote to adjourn the meeting. Again, 7:01 p.m., March 17th. Thank y'all very much.
Have a great evening.
Bye. Have a good
Thank
evening.